Hello and welcome to what is going to be the start of probably my controversial side within Remnant, and basically I've seen a lot of old videos, like build videos and advice videos, blah blah blah, about Nightmare and Apocalypse builds and what people recommend, etc, etc, what does the most, what does the best, etc, etc. They're all wrong. All of them. Even this one, which I am also going to recommend a build, it's wrong. From the get-go, there's nothing right with it. Why? Because at that level of difficulty, your build does nothing. It's redundant. What matters is how well you are in preparation, how skilled you are in play, and how cohesive everything you have on you for that exact fight, moment, clear, dungeon, boss works. On top of that, obviously, like I already said, I will be giving my 5 cents as well. And as far as I'm able to tell, pretty much every build video that I've seen in relation to what I have just mentioned is currently out of date. There have been updates, changes, etc, etc. One of the most interesting builds that I have seen that I wanted to try was the Osseous set. Continually attacking an enemy buffs your damage by up to 35%, and this being utilised with turrets as well as the sword dance, I can't remember what it's called, buff, which is another 20% damage, worked or seemed to work very, very well. I tried it, and from what I can gather, well, literally the only thing that actually affected my turret's damage was using the mod buffed sword dance or dance, I can't remember what it's called, 20% bonus damage buff. That was the only thing that seemed to actually directly affect my turret damage. Utilising the Osseous set with turrets basically seemed to do nothing, absolutely nothing. However, I have also noticed a few bugs or gaps with missing within the game as of late, which I want to go over. A very important one pretty damn soon, and it's one that potentially could be remotely game breaking, but yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, as you can see, this is on Apocalypse difficulty. It's kind of hard for me to actually get footage doing this because I've really got to be in the mindset to play this game at that difficulty. I normally hover between hard and nightmare. Hard because where the level I'm at, it's not too much of a difficult prospect for me to actually do, and nightmare is just that right amount of challenge just for me to sort of get my mind off of the stresses of life. Apocalypse, however, really is an actual challenge. So this is very old footage of literally the day after the most recent patch or update where Butcher's Flail got nerfed. My melee build still works very well. They've just taken about 22% damage off the top of it, so it's no longer absolutely busted, it's now just busted. But yeah, so I've not actually gone through and got brand new footage. Quick tangent, I suck at doing the Ent, I really do. He's like one of my least favourite bosses, simply because he doesn't seem to spawn a lot for me, so I've not really got a lot of practice doing him. This is probably going to be the longest, sloppiest run of Ent on Apocalypse you'll ever see. But still, yeah, so back on target, all Nightmare / Apocalypse builds are wrong. Why? Because they're not tailored to you. If someone recommends a build and you make that build and you utilise it and it works absolutely well, then fine, great. But that doesn't mean that Bob, your next door neighbour, is going to get along with it as well, simply because of the difficulty of the game. And you will notice that here, one hit, look at my health already. There's nothing that's going to stop that, nothing's going to prevent that, nothing that's going to help you with that, other than the age-old gamer term of get good. That is going to be your best gear, your own capability within the game, how good you actually are. builds do help with damage output, etc, etc. However, from what I have seen with the damage output on Apocalypse, adding in some of the builds, one of the greatest and best builds you can actually do is to simply use the Daredevil Charm, which I don't actually, because I've only really tested it a few times. I do have the thing, but it's a bit weird. I don't know if it equates to other jewelry, but if it is literally just your base armor, first of all, Daredevil's Charm is for every piece of armor you are missing, it gives you a 30% damage buff across the board. 30% up. So if you're just missing your armor, head, chest, legs, that's 90% damage increase. That's already the highest damage buff in the game, flat out. Considering even critical damage only goes to 95%, but that is also reliant on your critical chance, so it's not going to be flat across the board. This is stupid already. And if it also equates for your rings as well, we're now at 150%. I don't know if it does, further testing required, but still, that is already stupid. So from the get-go, best Apocalypse build, Daredevil Charm, crossbow. Done. End of. Most things will one-shot you anyway, so having no armor is no big issue. But I don't really know what else to say. However, as you can see, I'm not quite getting one shot because my armor is at max, etc, etc. However, if you do just get good enough and just don't take a hit, don't get hit forehead, not really a big drama. Anyway, assuming you can dodge. And just in case you are wanting to check this out, the Daredevil Charm is only acquired through survival mode. You will need accumulatively, I haven't got to do it in one run, accumulatively across several different playthroughs, 75 boss kills. Ta-da! I'm currently working on the Black Rose. I think I'm about 90-ish, so I've got a little way to go, which potentially could alter up the builds even more, because your chest piece counts as 2 pieces, so you just wear chest and legs or chest and head, and there's your 3-piece set, and it gives you one more slot to do something else with, which is potentially going to be very, very powerful. Still, more playtesting. Well, we need to acquire it first, but once acquired, playtesting required. So literally from the off, just by saying that, as the highest potential damage buff in the game of 90% flat, and potentially if rings are included, that's 150%. That already, in terms of a PvE gameplay, where literally the meta, if you can call it that, is literally just highest damage output across the board, that is already winning. Like, flat out, that is literally already winning and beats any other build that you can find anywhere. Unless that person's also recommended what I've just said. Although, that being said, it just goes back to my previous point. What are you comfortable with? What do you like to use? Now, for me personally, and I'm going to go into this into quite a bit of detail, one of my favourite setups to use in Apocalypse difficulty is as follows. So I'm actually going to start with the armour, which is the Slayer set. Don't be confused by the fact that it says Harbinger something. That's just the skin thing that I've got over the top. The Slayer set, available from Corsus if you give the Beast's Heart or the Guardian's Heart, whatever they decide to call it next time, to the Iskall Queen. She will give you the Slayer set and the crossbow. The Slayer set provides a 30% damage buff to your next shot after a reload, which is perfect for one-shot reload weapons, or more commonly known as a one-round magazine. Crossbow, sniper rifle, spore bloom, ricochet rifle, and the Devastator are going to be your go-tos as your primary. I personally like the crossbow because not only is it one of the highest damages of any weapon in a single shot out there, it's also got a pretty decent reload time. The next on that scale would be the sniper rifle, a tad more damage, but it is quite slow at reloading, and over something like the course of a boss fight, you will find that the crossbow will net you roughly 2.5% more DPS simply because of the reload time. The sniper rifle simply cannot keep up with it. If you are built properly and correctly, the Devastator will actually be your next bet. Although the overall damage is quite a bit lower, you are firing 5 shots per shot. and those 5 shots soon add up, adding in the effect of the mod, which is bleed damage over time, which is pretty damn useful. However, overall for this, in terms of pure damage output within a DPS medium, the crossbow is the best, which is one of the reasons why I use it. As my secondary or pistol, I'm using the hunting pistol. Now, I actually do not like the hunting pistol too much. However, it does have a 1-round magazine and is the only secondary or pistol that is as such. So I use it because it seems to be a complete waste of the armor set if I do not. After that, as a melee weapon, which I never plan on using melee anyway in Apocalypse, because everything just hits that damn hard. It's like the one place where I do not recommend using melee at all. Melee you can get away with in Nightmare if you have enough health regen and backup to go with it, but in Apocalypse it is just flat out a bad idea. So, what will provide us the most utility while basically doing nothing? And the answer is quite simple here. It's the Guardian Axe. It offers us ×2 mod generation, which basically means we can get our mods up even more, which brings me quite nicely to the Seeker mod. Summons a beetle that will rush towards enemies and explode, dealing 480 corrosive damage within 4 meters, lasts 36 seconds, and a max of 3 stacks. With this weapon and the Slayer armor, adding in the Guardian Axe, you can get these up very, very damn quick. They are also the highest damaging mod in the damn game. They are stupid. Problem is, there is currently a slight bug. I did originally, because I worked through all the math and the processes of how much DPS, the reload speed, etc, would net you. If you could utilize Galenic Charm, that would put the damage of this at 624, which is a non-weak point, non-crit shot of the crossbow. And you can have 3 of these stacked up, which basically means that you are near enough making your gunslinger charm redundant on a crossbow. In fact, you're tripling it. You're tripling that DPS outright. Not exactly, it's about times 2.849, I believe it was. So you're near enough tripling it just by having Seeker with Galenic Charm. However, for some odd reason, Galenic Charm is not affecting, or at least for me it is not, any of my mods at all. So I've had to, for this video, swap out Galenic Charm and literally go with the second best option, which is still Gunslinger, because incorporating that buff on reload speed purely just nets you more DPS. However, it does not detract from the point that at this time, if Galenic Charm was working for me, for the most DPS available to me at this point, Galenic Charm with Seeker is literally the most damaging setup in the game. Like, to a point, it's near enough ridiculous. Just 2 of them is 1,200 damage. Adding in the third is 1,800 damage, and that's just rounding down roughly. Although not too much. In total, it's 1,872 damage. And that's just by using 3, and it doesn't take you too long to build them up, and it's near enough a headshot weak point crit ready to go pretty damn regularly. It's stupid. As for rings, Empowering Loop will beat out Jewel of the Black Sun every time while using a single shot weapon. However, not everyone has this, so if you do have it, use it. If not, Jewel of the Black Sun is better, as well as trying to get some way to buff our crit is just going to make our damage exponentially higher. At the moment, this is the highest damaging setup in the game. At the moment, this will change. For me, it's currently the 2nd of June 2020, so if you're watching this a year from now, it's changed. Or potentially changed. Now, there is one thing I would like to address before this basically ends and my rant is over, and that is the Hunter's Mark and the Song of Swords. Now, with the Song of Swords, I'm just going to nuke this one pretty much from the off. My average damage, depending on where I'm hitting and how I hit, ranges between 600 and 1,200 roughly. It can go higher, but I'm looking at roughly a weak point crit, which, particularly in Apocalypse, you're running around too much and panicking too much to accurately aim, so I'm going to discount that from the off unless you are some god tier player, in which case by all means, but even still you're looking about 2,200 from there. Now Song of Swords increases your damage by 10 or 20%. So if we're looking at one of our 600 damage shots, that 10% is 16, if it's 20% that's 120 more damage, which will last for 30 seconds. Seeker will outperform this by 398%. Just from the off. Now if it's one of our 1,200 damage, 10% is going to be another 120, and the 20%, I can't remember what it is, it's either 10 or 20%, but that's going to be 280. Seeker is now outperforming this by 150, 155%, depending on just how consistent you are with it. Now, if you are lucky enough to consistently get those head point crits where you average around 2,000 to 2,400 damage, you are finally going to be on par with Seeker, because that will put you at 480 damage, and that's without Galenic Charm working. The moment Galenic Charm works, if you're able to consistently hit them, doesn't matter. Seeker will still outperform it by a grand total of around 20%. So yeah, as it stands, your best mod for Apocalypse is at the moment pure and simple Seeker. It's just that damaging and it's stupid. However, yeah, that is my little rant on your Nightmare Apocalypse setups. This is the one I use. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, sorry. Try someone else. That's literally all I can recommend. But people saying that their build is perfect for Nightmare Apocalypse, it's bollocks. Do not believe them. In the meantime, have fun, good luck, and don't die.